To another episode of Simply Finance with Shane White. I am pumped today to have Chris Meade on the podcast, CEO and founder of maybe a popular game you've seen called Crossnet. So without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Do you mind giving everyone just a little background into yourself and just what Crossnet is?
Let's do it. So yeah, I'm the co-founder of Crossnet, the world's first four-way volleyball game. Essentially, it sounds what it is. It's a four-way volleyball net. You got four players, one in each square. And it's a combination of Foursquare, which is a childhood recess game, and volleyball. And we're just bringing it into the air. So game to play to 11, win by 2. The goal is just to not let the ball land in your square. Keep the ball alive at all costs.
So it's simple. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's go back to, I guess, give a little background to you. So how long have you been focused on this? What did you do before Crossnet?
Yeah, so we've been doing this since 2017. We had the idea. Prior to that, I worked at Uber. I was a sales manager over there. Nice. I actually helped launch Uber Eats in Boston and Rhode Island. So it was pretty cool gig. Definitely good, startup culture. Kind of learned what I like, what I don't like as a manager and as an employee as well, right? Sure. And then before that, I went to school for film at a small liberal arts school called Quinnipiac. Got out of school, went into the film world, was making $10 an hour with a $100,000 school student loan debt.
Yeah, that doesn't add up, does it?
Doesn't add up really quickly. So kind of gave up on the film dream pretty quickly. It's either that or become homeless. Yeah. So I got into sales and
two solid options.
Yeah, still have the passion for film, and maybe one day we'll get back. Maybe with some of that Crossnet money, become a producer or something. But so we kind of
also the whole YouTube world now.
Exactly.
You could you should start a a vlog or something about Crossnet, building Crossnet. That'd be cool. I'd love to watch that.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's always an opportunity for that. So got into sales. Was pretty content, was making good money, right? I was paying my bills, but also kind of had that feeling of, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Am I going to wake up, make cold calls, annoy people, take a good paycheck home, but I was working 10 hours a day, not really that happy, just sending cold emails all day long, right? So
because that's pretty much what it was back then.
Yeah, right? Essentially, yeah, exactly. Get in touch with decision makers and then try to convert them, whether it was to buy software or buy Uber Eats. So that was that. And then one night we had the idea for Crossnet, just kind of brainstorming all night, and four-way volleyball popped into the head. And we just had assumed it was already out there, right? We figured Dick's was already selling it. And we just never saw it.
Sure.
That wasn't the case. Nobody had ever done it.
Crazy, right? Such a
ridiculous.
It's funny how sometimes the best ideas aren't rocket science. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we had the idea. We're like, how is this not a thing? And then we went to Walmart the next day. We're small farm town kids. The Walmart's half an hour away.
Okay.
We drove there hoping that there'd be volleyball nets. There weren't. There were badminton nets. So we cut out the center.
Oh, okay.
Rigged them together. We invited all our friends over and we said, yo, be there at 1:00. We got a prototype. Come over and come play in the backyard. So.
Oh, no way. That's literally how you guys started. You just cut two badminton nets together, and how did you actually cut? Did you just cut a hole in one of them? And
just cut a hole in one and then slide the other one in. Just as easy as it sounds, funny. Right?
Yeah.
So, obviously it was pretty rinky, but it worked. It was stable enough, and we just started making up rules in our head, kind of Foursquare. We haven't played in about 20 years, but this.
I didn't. Yeah, I was gonna say before you said that, that didn't register when I, looking at the brand and seeing people play it. I didn't even think about Foursquare, but now I'm like, duh. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
So then, made up some rules. We're big basketball players, so it's game to 11, win by 2, kind of like traditional.
Oh yeah.
And we kept the ball alive. It was mad fun. We played for 3 hours. And we're like, oh, why wouldn't every other kid in America play this? We just had a great time. So about 6 months or so later, I quit my full-time job and went all in on Crossnet. And that was after we moved from Connecticut to Miami.
Love it. That's a pretty good switch from a where you live perspective too.
Exactly.
Did you move to Miami because that was just a better hub for that product?
Yeah, I was actually, so they moved from Connecticut, excuse me, my co-founders. I was living in Brooklyn, commuting into the city for work, for Uber. And we were just, it was starting to become the fall. Things were starting to get cold. Trying to launch a 4-way volleyball product in September is not the easiest in New England or New York City.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
rent was starting to stack up, and we're like, yo, we could all go live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Miami and hit the beach every single day
and play Crossnet.
And that's exactly how it started.
Whoa. Oh, that's cool, man. So in 2017, you guys just, I guess I'll back up you before I say that. Do you mind giving everyone, so really a big part of what we like to ask people on the podcast is kind of this whole concept of going from 0 to 1, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yep.
For you guys, like it's a little bit different in regards to like a food product, for example, right? Like that there's a little bit of R&D and there's production and some weird stuff. For you guys, like did you see early on that this could quickly become a full-time thing, or like how did you go from working at Uber and trying to do this on the side to what was like the leap point where you're like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do full-time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us was we knew there was massive potential. Just to put things in perspective, right? 2017 was like the R&D year. 2018 we had like the official launch in January.
Okay.
2018 we did about $87,000 in sales. So at that point, go back to your full-time job, right? You're not making enough between 3 founders.
Yeah.
And last year we did well over 10 million.
Wow.
So a nice jump.
Congratulations. That's an enormous jump.
Yeah, not bad. So the biggest things, the indicators for us, right, were, one was the game fun. We brought it to South Beach every day and there'd be 50 people in line. So that was proof of something, right?
Yeah.
That people enjoyed it. And then secondly, it was steady growth every month. And back then growth meant going from 100 site visitors to 150 or 150 to 300. But if our conversion stayed the same and we had more site visitors, then we're making more cash. Yeah. And then if we saw that we could increase our conversion even by 0.02%, right? That may end up being an extra $100 a week or so. So we just kept seeing steady, like how you think about, I don't know if you're into this crypto stuff, but we saw little small increases in those penny stocks.
Yeah. And
you're like, all right, we have some traction here. So that's kind of how we felt. And it eventually got to the point where we're like, I don't know, 6-8 months into it. And we're like, we need to focus our full-time job. Like we need to just go in all in it. I had saved up 3 months of rent and living, which was like, $6,000 to my name.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I got a college degree. I got Uber on the resume. I could go get a real job in 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst. Otherwise I'm going to wake up and somebody's going to steal this idea and I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So that's when we kind of decided to go all in, was like 8 months or so into the project.
So at 8 months, I mean, when you kind of were like thinking in your head, like what is, going through this like mental battle, was it like you realized if you just put more time in, you could, 10x your growth? Or was it just like you guys were working around the clock and like you just could not spend more time on it with your current day jobs?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Because we were waking up I was waking up at least at like 6 o'clock in the morning, getting to work at 8. But in between then I was working. I remember there was a bathroom that was like all the way down at the end of the hallway at Uber. And I'd go walk all the way down there and I'd like lock myself in there and do cold calls for like 30 minutes for Crossnet.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah, so I was like, yo, I can't be doing this anymore. So it kind of got to the point where the time wasn't there because there's just my inbox for Crossnet was overflowing my Uber inbox.
Oh, yeah.
And then it kind of sucked when you're responding to people at 9 or 10 o'clock at night when you get home from your job. And then they're responding to you the next day at noon. And then you're not responding for 10. So there's just this big delay. Yeah. I almost felt like I was working with somebody in China when they're really just here domestically.
That's a good point.
So yeah.
It's probably the best customer experience early on. Those are like your tribe, we always say, right? It's
of course.
Those are like your biggest, vouchers for the brand.
Exactly. So yeah, it got to the point where time wasn't there. We saw positive progress and we're like, why not us? So that's kind of when we all just kind of dove in.
That is so cool. So, and then you guys, you figure out it's your time. You're like, I'm going to do this. What was, give everyone a little bit of background on like what the first few months of moving to Miami and, this becoming the thing you wake up every day and work on, what was like?
Yeah, it's fun. I think as a founder, a lot of the times there's so much stuff you want to do. And it's like trying to figure out one, like what's just busy work and what's actually moving the needle.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of Excel sheets still, just shit that I just wasted time with, like building CSV files for no reason. Like I'm looking back, like, what were you thinking? But some of those things worked. But the biggest takeaway that we had, right, was we went to the beach, we got exposure, and then me and you would meet at the beach, right? Like you'd be a random person on vacation. I'd get you to come play. At the end of the day, you'd have a blast and you'd say, hey, Chris, can I buy it? I said, sure. Take home the game for $100 or whatever, $50 off retail. That way I don't have to break it down and bring it back home and somebody else gets it. Somebody gets a net, right?
Yeah.
So then
at first, did you have this like apartment just like filled with Crossnets?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So eventually what happened, right? So you would buy that and then a week would go by, we'd hear nothing. And then we would just start seeing sales from Chicago. And knowing that there's only one net out in Chicago, I know that you're playing.
Yeah.
So then you're people. Playing, you're playing and you're doing the same thing that we just did in South Beach. And you're getting 40 and 50 people because people are having that same, like, what the hell is that moment?
Oh.
So we had 100 out. That happened with 100. We bought 250. That then happened with 250. And now we're up to 100,000 nets out in the world. So every summer when that happens, you have that, what the hell is that kind of moment? And that's where, so it's snowballed.
It's no different than, I feel like that happens with, we call it cornhole, but there's like cornhole or like, what's the one where you slam it on the trampoline?
Yeah, spike ball.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just like that.
Whoa. Yeah.
Exactly. But like, I mean, spike ball is still kind of early enough where cornhole, you're not like, oh, what is that magical
What is that?
Yeah. What is that magical board? You're like, oh, it's cornhole. But for Crossnet, it's like, what is that four-way volleyball net? We've never seen it before.
Right.
Google, buy, take action.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you could you give everyone a little bit of a background too? So I mean, obviously you talked about the very first net. You drove to Walmart 30 minutes away, bought 2 badminton nets and kind of cut them and, Jimmy rigged them together.
Yeah.
What was that process of 0 to 1 looking like from that trip to Walmart to like the first box you sold? Like, how did you guys figure out where to make it, how to make it? How did that whole process work?
Yeah, so we used to sell like bootleg basketball jerseys on eBay from China. Like we'd fulfill like fake basketball jerseys, right? So we knew how to like talk to Chinese suppliers, and we just typed in Alibaba. We typed in volleyball, and we found a bunch of suppliers. Fortunately for us, one of our founders is an engineer, so he had the blueprint, and we messaged a few of the suppliers and we said, "Hey, you make volleyball nets? Can you make this?"
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like, yeah, I can, of course, minimum $250,000 purchase order. And we're like, yeah, we got $4,000 to our name. So we found one that was willing to work with us. We made an order for like 50 units or so. And that was, we got the net shipped over to us in about 90 days. We had like a few back and forth like prototypes until it was like ready to go. But that whole like production time to get our first real order took probably around 6 to 9 months, if memory serves me correctly, with about 3 prototypes in between.
Okay. So, I mean, it took some serious time.
Yeah. There's some art. I mean, sometimes you'd get it and it'd be wobbly on one side or the stakes wouldn't go in properly, there's still stuff that we're constantly trying to do to improve it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some time to kind of perfect it or make it at least sellable.
Do you remember that moment when what was it? You say 90 nets showed up from China in the first batch? Do you remember that moment?
Oh yeah, it was sick. And we had a little warehouse in Connecticut where we're from. And so, that was a really cool day. Just looking at it, like we did things so stupid back then. Like we didn't have retail packaging at all.
So what did it show up in?
It showed up in this like ugly brown box. But we didn't have any
Sharpie
packaging
on it, Crossnet.
We didn't have any instructions. There's just like,
oh really?
Here you go. It was very bootlegged. That was the first batch, and then we got feedback from there. But we sold the 100. Probably took us, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months to sell through 100.
Okay.
And then we got back ordered because we didn't manage our cash correctly. And we didn't order. Well, we didn't have supply chain, right? There's no such thing as a supply chain. And it was, it was order 100 and buy 200 more when 100 are out. But realistically, you need to plan your orders while you're selling your current orders. That's
Right.
how that works. So, yeah, we ended up buying the next 200 or 250 or whatever it was. And we just kept doubling up. So, just kept doubling the orders. And now we're ordering like 40, 50,000 at a time sometimes.
Wow. Are you still with that same supplier that gave you that shot? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So, I
cool.
mean, we've had to expand because her capacity is not what we need from a supplier.
Yeah.
So we still have her, just kind of out of principle, right?
Yeah.
She's been very fair to us, so we try to reciprocate. But we have had to expand to other factories just due to pure volume.
That is pretty cool. Have you ever actually been there or met her or seen the production of it?
I have not, but our other founder, Mike, who's kind of in charge of all the logistics and stuff, he's been out there a few times.
That's pretty cool. That's just cool to think that like you guys were on Alibaba typing in volleyball, and now that's like a part of your business today. That's pretty cool. It sounds so. The one thing that kind of light bulb in my head, it sounds like, is maybe by plan or just by pure, luck in the way you guys decided to do it. It sounds like you really like bootstrapped this business and like took what you guys had in life savings and just put it in. Has that kind of been the strategy of like taking what you have, buying what you can, selling it, and using that to like double up and just like grow that way? Is that how you guys have always done it?
Yeah, that's how we've always done it. And I can't say we'll always do it like that, but it's how things have been historically. We are an 8-figure plus company. We own 100% of the business between the 3 founders.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you guys.
We have no debt. And yeah, it's been cool. It's just kind of having that. I really think the small farm town mentality, as silly as it is, but it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like use money how you would really use money if you're trying to get your little business off the ground. Like every dollar counts. If you're spending money on stupid marketing or videos and stuff like that, you're going to bankrupt your company way too soon. And we've kind of had that frugal mentality the entire time. Like we've been using freelancers. We don't staff employees unless we absolutely need them for 40 hours a week. I think I think the biggest thing is like companies like early stage startups will staff 15, 20 employees and they're sitting around waiting for instructions. And it's like, why are we paying them if we don't have work for them to do?
Sure.
So we only hire when we absolutely need to. Otherwise we'll just tap contractors. So it's just been self-funded the entire way. Every dollar we've made, we've invested it back. Thankfully now we kind of pay ourselves a good salary and we pay our employees a good salary, but getting to this point was really tough.
Oh yeah. I mean, it sounds like it, but it's not, I mean, to be honest, it's been pretty quick. Like to go from putting a few grand in your name behind something to being an 8-figure business. I mean, hats off to you guys. It's awesome to hear and see, right? Are you guys, like, where are you now? I guess it's probably a better question is like, where can people find you today? Like distribution wise? Yeah.
So distribution wise, direct to consumer on our website, crossnetgame.com. It's always the best place to buy, always the best margin for the small business.
There you go.
But then we are also in 2,000 plus retail stores. So we're nationwide with Dick's, Dillard's, Academy Sports, Shields. Those are the big 4. And then we just rolled out to 1,000 Walmart stores as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as of yesterday, actually. So
congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, so that's been going well. And then we've also expanded into Canada where we have a distribution center up there.
Nice.
So we're about to be on Canada Tire and also nationwide with Toys R Us up there. Apparently Toys R Us is still a thing up in Canada.
I was going to say, wait, that didn't that just go away here? Yeah.
Yeah. So they have 88 locations up there. So that's a pretty good chunk of change. Yeah. And
it's probably a great consumer for this, right? I mean, that's huge.
Exactly. And then we've also just expanded to Australia and Europe as well. So the biggest thing is like we're growing the sport. It's a great product. But the whole goal of Crossnet as founders is like our mission is to grow the sport. In 20 years and 50 years, I want Crossnet to be in a park. It's not, this isn't a fad. This isn't something that's going to go away in 2 years. Like we both know that basketball is going to be there till the day we die. Like why can't Crossnet be there?
I didn't know that. Okay. That's really cool. So do you guys now, like, at least from what I've seen, it's been very recreational and to your point, like at a park, kind of the same thing, but is there any sort of, I know obviously it's early on, but is there any sort of like competitive Crossnet playing that goes on?
Yeah, of course. So right now we have 16 professional volleyball players that are Olympians and AVP professionals that are on Crossnet staff. So they're
16.
They're 8 men, Yeah, 8 men, 8 women, some of the best players in the world. So they're Crossnet athletes.
I did not know this.
Yeah, so they go out, they grow the brand, they create content for us. And more exciting is we're going to have Crossnet tournaments this summer. We just hired a full-time events director. So we'll have competitive tournaments, 2-on-2-on-2 on our doubles net.
Okay.
Where we'll have teams show up. There'll be cash prizes, like maybe $100 to enter. Winner wins $15,000 cash. And we'll have it televised on like ESPN or any of these.
You guys have ESPN lined
up?
up?
Yeah, ESPN this summer, which is going to be amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of incredible potential for the sport and for the brand. It's just the beginning, man. I'm pumped. So making it a global sport is really what we're pumped for.
I love that. That is so cool. I mean, it's funny because I'm thinking while you're talking about this, I'm thinking about even the last time I played regular volleyball and all of the like difficulties and faults that I can see get solved with Crossnet, just like the way of playing and like coverage and everything. I just feel like it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what's even cooler to an extent is we're in over 10,000 schools right now. So kids are learning how to play Crossnet volleyball from a young age. And if we actually build out these leagues and tournaments like we actually dream of doing, the kids will go through the school system, go from middle school to high school to play at intramurals in college, which we're currently in. And then hell, if you're good enough, you'll go to the pro leagues.
Really? Oh, so you guys, I mean, this is very well thought out, obviously, so, I mean, because it's funny, I could see like the younger demographic in age group today being like regular volleyball might seem boring, right? After getting into Crossnet, you're probably like, wait, regular volleyball? What are you talking about? Where's the other net?
Exactly. That's the goal, man. So yeah, it's fun. It's cool to see it develop. I mean, feels like every week something new happens, but yeah, we got we've got tons of work to do, obviously, but the TV placement will be huge and building out the tournaments hopefully post COVID, right? Where we can do a little bit more PC friendly.
Luckily though, it's outside. So right.
Yeah, but you're sharing the same ball, all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of
got it. Lives on the ball. Forgot.
A lot of hoops we got to jump through these days.
For sure. That's tough, but I hopefully it gets back to normal, sooner than later, and that's not an issue. So this is the one thing that pops in my mind too is, I mean, you guys have been growing really fast, and to hear that like you're in this many locations, you have professional athletes that are already a part of the brand, you are going to be on ESPN, like there's lots unraveling. Do you ever just kind of like stop and think about like, damn, this thing is moving? It's like probably like a snowball down a hill at this point.
Yeah,
because it's not that long ago you were just driving to Walmart.
It's crazy. it's a really good feeling. It's nice to be in a cash flow positive state. Not really. I mean, we obviously always worried about money as an owner, but nice to know. We used to have a doomsday board, right? We had a board that I had $6,000, and every time I'd buy McDonald's, I'd have to deduct how much money I had until I went back to zero and had to go get a real job. So it's like, it's pretty cool to see it come full circle where we could spend money on marketing and create billboards, and things are, we know money's going to be coming in from the store. So it's a much better position than we were 3 years ago.
Wait, so the doomsday board. So you wrote out how much money you had in your account, and then it was basically like a list of just every time you spent a penny, it went on this board.
Yeah, all three founders had that. And then if it got back to zero, we'd have to go back to our full-time job.
Wow, that's really cool. That's a good idea too. Just to like, I actually read that in a book recently called The Compound Effect, and it talks about doing that. Like if you want to change something, like the first thing you need to do is just track something. If you track it, it's the only way you're going to improve it, right?
Exactly.
That's really cool, man. So what's like next? What's like next for distribution? I mean, it sounds like you got in some Walmarts. Is it like to go into retail? I mean, you guys are on Amazon, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, we're on Amazon. I mean, it's tough to keep expanding to retail because of payment terms. People don't really understand that. I mean, you probably definitely do.
Yeah.
But when you're not getting paid for 120 days from some locations and you're putting out almost millions of dollars of product, it's tough to keep the ship afloat, especially as a privately funded company.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're
my bulldog's going crazy.
You know what? With COVID, I always tell people it's so funny. Everyone gets worried. I'm like, almost every podcast I listen to, unless you're at some studio in person, there's life going on around all of us.
Exactly.
You're all good.
So life right now, our main focus is our retail expansion. We got the 1,000 Walmart stores. The goal is to blow it out of the water. There's a potential for 4,000 stores there.
Yeah.
So we prove 1,000, we scale up. At least that's what my expectations would be, right? If I was the buyer. So
sure.
Let's hope that goes well. And then the tournaments this summer. And then the biggest thing is just growing out the sport globally. We have so many people reaching out to us on a daily basis. Like, yo, I'm in New Zealand. Yo, I'm in Kuwait. How do I get a Crossnet? And it's like, you can't really get a Crossnet unless you're willing to pay $200 in shipping. And you're kind of out of your mind if you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
So
we need to some people may though.
Yeah. They have, which is awesome. But we're setting up local distribution ports in a lot of countries right now. That way we have a easier way to ship product to customers who want it.
Yeah.
And then we'll be building out like direct to consumer models there where we'll run the Facebook ads in Australia. And the whole goal is within the next 6 months to be able to advertise 365 days a year to sunshine. So if it's cold and snowing in Wyoming, I'm not spending any money there. I'm going to move over to Australia.
Yeah, that's so smart. And what's interesting for you guys, I mean, that's cool to think. I just thought of two things. One thing, I come from the world of food. So exporting's always been a challenge for us. We do it, but there's a chance, things get too hot, they melt, they go bad, right? Like even if we make a protein bar today, like it's going to take a couple months to get over to those parts of the world. So it's tough.
Exactly.
For you guys, you have a product that doesn't go bad, right? So it's like,
I mean, shit happens though, dude. It's surprising. We've had situations and they may be out in the world still for all I know that we've had volleyballs not inflate. We've spent thousands on volleyballs and the customer goes and they put the pump in and either it punctures the bladder too quick or the ball just sucks and there's a hole in it somewhere and the ball just won't keep air.
Huh.
So
because you guys add the ball with the Crossnet set.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah. Or the bag breaks and there's too much weight in the bag and the bag tears after the first use, or somebody spikes the ball 100 miles per hour into the net and the net rips. So there's always little things, as you know, and regardless if you're in food or volleyball, it makes it tricky.
Great point. Yeah. And I was gonna say that's very true, right? It doesn't matter what line of work you're in, there's always problems. But that's cool. I mean, it sounds like you guys have the mentality of just okay, we'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
The other thing I was gonna say, what I think makes you guys different that I hadn't really thought about before we talked today is I can't think of another sport where the company or the manufacturer of the product is also the one trying to grow the sport. Right. Like I think of like CrossFit, right? No, the people who make all the weights, they're not the ones that started CrossFit. I mean, Spalding didn't start basketball.
Exactly.
Right? So that's pretty cool. And that's pretty unique, I would think. I'm trying to think. I can't think of another line of sports that even fits into that category.
No, you're absolutely correct. And which makes it very compelling, right? Like part of us, like we're 28, right? 28 and 27, like we're young. So I think eventually Crossnet becomes a very interesting opportunity to invest there or acquire at some point, right? Because you're buying a sport. You can't buy basketball. No. Even if you buy the NBA, you're not buying basketball. So it's really interesting, and we know we got tons of work to do. But if we're on the right track so far, it's really cool, and we'll see knockoffs come into market. We've already seen some knockoffs come in, and it's just like proving brand, growing the sport, and just kind of doing it that way.
Yeah. How is that? What kind of challenges is that posed? I mean, that was one thing I was thinking was like, I'm sure you've had people try to come in and copy you guys without getting into like the specifics of the product. Just like how important has brand really been for you guys?
It's huge, dude. It sucks because you see, and I'm sure you have the same thing with RX, right? People try to copy the formula or make something like it.
We had a brand in like Australia that was literally, they just took our website and copy pasted the whole thing and changed the name of it. It looked the same. It was so it happens to everybody.
Yeah, it sucks. And it's like, it's frustrating. One, it's humbling because we've had some brands like Franklin, legit Franklin, like the company that we grew up like buying stuff at copy Crossnet. And
no way.
Yeah.
So at some point, their HQ, they had the conversation and we're like, hey, we should copy these guys. Exactly. That's what I was wondering if someone in volleyball had.
So they have. And the best thing is we've continued to come out on top, and we'll continue, in my impression. The thing that makes Crossnet great is the people that work for it and the brand that we've built.
Yeah.
The product's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but we're the one growing the sport of four-way volleyball. We invented it in our heads, not Franklin, and we're going to keep driving it. And at the end of the day, my goal as like an owner is, if I find out that you bought the Franklin model, I want you to be embarrassed. I want you to be mortified that you're getting caught out in public with the Franklin one, right?
Love
or if
it.
a kid, or if some kid asks their mom for Crossnet for Christmas and she buys the $40 version, I want him to get pissed off at her and be like, "Mom, this is the wrong product. Like, this isn't what I wanted."
Okay, got it.
That's the
So
goal.
brand over everything, kind of.
Brand over everything, quality over everything as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, those copycat RX bars, right? They may just be just as delicious, but it's the brand that you're paying for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
Again, your point, quality. It's always like goes back. I think most people can say that. It's, with anything you buy. That it's interesting. It's becoming more and more popular, I think, as time goes on, right? People are more worried about brand and more worried about quality behind brands.
exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's Franklin. That's interesting because like Franklin, that's like the one volleyball type brand I can think of that is in that space. That's crazy. Have you ever talked to anyone over there or anything?
No, I haven't. Some kid from LinkedIn actually wrote on my comment being like, I forget exactly what he said. But I was like, "Oh, it's funny that you're commenting. Like Franklin just ripped off our entire company."
Oh,
but, but no, it's fine. I mean, we're head above water.
yeah, no, 100%. So I mean, the other thing you guys are growing quick and you've already grown extremely fast, and your background being, film and then working at Uber, I would imagine one of the things has got to have been tough is just like, I mean, you haven't done some of these things before, just getting in the weeds and figuring it out as an owner of a company. What has some of that been like? Like, is there any like major challenge? We've talked about a few already, but is there one that stands out to you that was like a pivotal moment for you guys? You didn't really know how to handle it, and you guys kind of like put your heads down, figured it out, and now looking back, it's like, oh wow, we figured that shit out. Like, that's cool.
I guess the first example comes. So yes, the answer is yes to almost everything we're doing. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. They're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So the first store we ever got in Shields, we were shipping them the product, and the product did not have a nice brown box around it. We just shipped them retail direct to the store. So by the time it got to the store, the shit was so banged up. And I'm looking at it in display, and the box is just beaten to shit, like with a hammer, pretty much. And I'm like,
okay. Oh, because they like shipped it in the outer box that you
see. Exactly. And I'm like, duh, like we got to protect the cargo, right? So we had it, rather than us paying domestically. And this is a good lesson for anyone getting into product. Like, rather than us shipping the product to the States and then us packaging it up, if you have the ability, we had China actually brown box every single one of them. That way, when the product gets here, it's in the Crossnet box. It's already sealed with a brown box around it. We slap a label on it and it's out the door. So it's a lot less time for our team here. And we're also getting much better prices on the boxes because we're buying them internationally than domestically.
Oh, interesting. Isn't that crazy? I still think it's so crazy. The longer I've worked like on a finance lens, learning you can get something that far away for that much cheaper. It's a wild process.
Yeah. And you want to, as an owner, you want to be a USA made business, right? Like that's the gold standard and the dream. But as somebody who's self-funding something from the ground up, I'm either going to buy a box for $5 here or 40 cents over there and wait 3 weeks. I'm going to take the 40-cent option every single day.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks, that's not fast, but it's also those economics make sense pretty quick. Have you guys tried to look in the US and it's just so expensive?
I mean, dude, if we made it in the US, we'd probably have to retail the product for like $700.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's that dramatic.
Yeah. How do those conversations go? Do like a lot of those suppliers kind of know that? Like, is that kind of like an uphill battle for them?
Yeah. I mean, it's more like, hey, we are writing this RFP with the understanding of your price is probably going to be astronomical and the conversation is going to be a no. But we are also like the number 2 or number 1 sporting good game in the country. Like, if you want to give it a crack, we're open to hearing.
Yeah, sure.
And most of the time it's just no knock to them. It's just not a possibility.
Yeah, right. Are you guys, you're the number 2 sporting product in the US? What's number 1?
Spike ball.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, wow. Spike ball crushes. They've been out for 12, 13 years now. So
I didn't realize it's been that long.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, so we're right up there. moving pretty quickly. Yeah, I believe we're number 2. If not, we're easily in the top 3. So
Yeah,
things are going well.
How is, I kind of hit on Amazon, but I come from the e-commerce world, so I'm always interested. Is your product, does it do well on Amazon and on
Yeah,
e-commerce? Feels like that'd be a perfect product. Again, it's, can sit on a shelf for a very long time, and it seems
exactly.
economical the way you can pack it and ship it.
Yeah, it does well. It does very well on Amazon. One of the main reasons is we charge shipping on our website, and
Okay.
on Amazon it's free shipping, of course.
Because you have Prime.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
a little bit of money out of our pocket that way. But my belief is you got to be where the customers are.
Yeah.
Us hiding from Amazon and not being an Amazon product is just going to do a disservice. Because I mean, think of my girlfriend. My girlfriend only shops on Amazon. Like, Chris, you want something? Boom, it's in the cart and it's shipped within 4 seconds.
That's
so,
my wife too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know she would never take the time to buy it. She might buy it at Dick's, right, when she's in there once a year. But so yeah, you got to be where the customers are, sadly. And Amazon's a big motivation because of the free shipping.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting with Amazon is, especially the search volume, right? I think now they I don't know where I just saw this. I saw this somewhere online. 85 to 90% of all product searches start on Amazon now and not on Google, which is insane.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, number one, it's just where everyone starts looking. And number two, it's interesting talking to a lot of brands. You can be really profitable on Amazon if you do some of the right things. I think some people fall in that trap. But yeah, for you guys, I can only imagine it just helps getting eyes on the product in such a big way, right?
Yeah, especially when there are knockoffs out in the world now, right? So if we're not on there and a knockoff is, that's
100%.
That's going to lose it.
100%. Yeah, because if you're everywhere else but not on Amazon, it's an enormous gap, I can imagine.
Exactly.
How has COVID been for Crossnet? Was it kind of detrimental just because it's a game where people are together? And so
on the actual opposite, sales increased by like over 400%.
Okay, that makes sense after what you just said, but yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, think about it, dude. Like, there's nothing, and I still have the same mindset. There's nothing better than getting out of your house for an hour or 30 minutes. Like,
well, and Crossnet, I guess, could be perfect for a family, right? If you have a couple kids, and you're like, shit, I need to get everyone out of this house.
Exactly.
Go play Crossnet in the backyard.
Yep. Exactly. So that's kind of what has happened. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In short, yes, people want to get outside. People have a backyard and they need something to do, and they're going crazy inside.
And it's probably one of the few things, even if you want to meet up with some buddies and put a mask on and go be outside at a park. You know what I mean? Like if everyone's paranoid and like still wants to see each other.
We were on the Today Show in the summer last year, and it was like the #1 product for outdoors. And the kids had gloves on, they had masks on, but they were playing Crossnet. It looked like they were in a lab. I didn't know that.
Congrats! You guys have gotten a lot of good publicity.
Yeah, it looked like they're in a lab, but they were playing. It looked good.
There you go. You guys need to get some branded masks and gloves and stuff, just so everyone can rock the full Crossnet get up. That is too funny, man. What has it been like scaling a team? I mean, it sounds like you're trying to keep everything as lean as humanly possible, but that's probably something new you hadn't done before Crossnet either, is just hiring, managing.
Yeah, I did a little bit of managing, like one-on-ones and stuff at the Uber, and at my other job before that, but not to the extent that I'm doing now. Yeah. We have 14 people on our team now, so it is staffed. We have a team of like 5 marketers now. Okay. I think of marketing people are salespeople in 2021. Like, those are the people that are making the sales for us. We have one like head of sales who helps with the relationships, but yeah, it's been fun to not only make sure everyone's motivated and on the same mission, but it's also been really rewarding to be the boss, or at least try to be the boss that I've always wanted my boss to be. Like,
that's a great way to think about it.
Right? Like, my people are probably, one girl's probably doing yoga right now, but like, I don't give a shit, because as long as they're getting their work done, let them go be happy.
Yeah.
And that really goes a long way for our employee. Like, at least I like to think that people are hopefully at the best job they've ever been at, and they're having fun. They're dealing with this COVID stuff, but they're still waking up and having a great time coming to work. We're a completely remote company. We have like meetups whenever. We just flew the whole team out to Tulum a few weeks ago, and we had like a great time. So like, yeah, it's been really fun to be a manager, and also like it's been a challenge dealing with like pay raises and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it comes out of your pocket as a founder. So
Right.
that's been a learning lesson. But you got to make people happy, and you got to also learn when to say yes and when to say no, which is really tough.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. That's a ton of stuff. I mean, right there, just in that response. I mean, um, 14 is lean, but it's interesting. You're one of the companies. I mean, hearing that kind of cements it. It's going to be interesting as we come out of COVID, just like what type of companies go down that route and which ones are like, all right, get your vaccine. Like, let's get back in the office. You know what I mean? Because I think,
Yeah.
especially for our age group, I'm 29.
Yeah.
I have a feeling a lot of people are going to just start gravitating towards industries and towards companies who, I mean, I don't know about you. I used to have to get on a train, go into the city.
Yep.
And it's amazing how much time you lose. Like, just
It's
product.
awful.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. And then you're stuck with all these, you're stuck crowded with a ton of people. I don't know. There's just something to me about, I think more work's getting done. We're moving faster. Lots of good things are happening. So
I agree. Yeah. I mean, when I was working at Uber, I commuted an hour each way on the subway, and it sucked. It was
oh
awful.
yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
shitty.
that's a jam-packed one. I've done that Brooklyn to downtown New York
Yep.
before. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really cool. Do you think you guys will continue to add people at all? Is there anything that are there things now that you guys are starting to like have like bust points where you're like, shit, we probably need to hire somebody soon?
Yeah, well, we just had that for the events person. So we finally hired an events person 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. He's doing great so far. We're pretty good right now. Where I do see us growing is once we like fully have, let's just say we have $500,000 of product in Australia, $500,000 in Europe. We're going to have to start hiring local teams there to grow the company. So just kind of have marketers in Australia that are growing with native Australians and just kind of building out those teams in other countries. That's going to be cool and very interesting to manage. But I see us having like little hubs of marketers in these countries popping Crossnet off.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, you're gonna want to speak to the voice of that country and be able to connect with people from that region.
Exactly.
That's been something for us. I know, just like as we've like sold RX bars, it's crazy. Just like not everyone looks at food the same way, even, or like thinks about what's healthy the same way globally. It's like, I think in the US sometimes we think that's how it is, but you quickly go over somewhere and try to sell something and they're like, what the hell is this? Or like, what's all this stuff on the front? I could see that being the case for anything. That's crazy. It will be wild, like trying to manage like around the clock, right? You'll have people, but to your point, if everyone's remote and everyone, works the way like this, if the goal is moving the rocks a step forward every week instead of just being in a location for the sake of being in a location, I feel like that could definitely pay off for a company like you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
As we get towards the end, I have a couple questions that I love to ask every founder on here. Number one, I always lead with book, but it could be book, podcast, just source of knowledge. If you had to recommend one book to the audience, what would it be?
Double Your Profits by Bob Pfeiffer.
Love it. I haven't heard that one yet.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's all about like trimming your fat, cutting the shit that you don't even realize you're spending money. Like after I read that book, I found out I was paying $300 a month to Dropbox, and I don't even use Dropbox. So like
all the users you had on it.
Yeah, just stupid shit that you don't even realize you're spending money on at scale. Like your bank account list keeps getting longer and longer, all the expenses that you have, and there's stuff that just sneaks in there that if I didn't read this book, I wouldn't even like caught on.
Awesome. That's a good one. Okay. Well, I'll add that one to the show notes. The next one I love to ask is obviously as a founder, as a owner of a company like yours, there's got to be a million different moving pieces. What do you use to plan goals, to look at your weeks and days and like just get shit done? Is it like pen and paper? Is it apps? Like what is your way of like just getting things done?
I got my Google Calendar, which is definitely Bible. I use Notes, just Apple Notes. Whenever I have an idea, I put it in the notepad, I delete it when it's done, or I email myself, sadly.
Okay.
But our team, the ones that are responsible for like really like, it's more like, oh, Chris just had this idea in the shower and I'll just throw it to people.
Okay.
We use Notion, which is a really good tool.
Got it. Notion. Love it. Okay. I'll add that. The last question, but the most important question is how can people follow along with you? How can they get involved with the brand, and how can they find Crossnet?
So the best place would be crossnetgame.com, and on Instagram or any socials at crossnetgame. And if you're interested in connecting with me, just honestly, LinkedIn's probably a place I spend way too much time on. But
Okay.
yeah, Chris Meade on LinkedIn.
Awesome. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time, man. This was a lot of fun, and I'm pumped to see what you guys do next. I am definitely going to become a fan. I can tell.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having
Awesome.
me on.
Absolutely, buddy. Have a good one.